We are now continuing our historical walk, moving from the grand civic space of St. Helens Square onto a much narrower, darker street, Davygate. Our short but dense journey will take us right into the heart of St. Sampson Square. As we step onto Davygate, immediately notice the change in atmosphere. We leave the open, elegant Georgian planning of the square and step back into a street whose width is still dictated by the medieval city plan. Davygate is named after the Priory of St. David's, which once owned property right here. This street was never quite as prestigious as Stonegate, but it was absolutely vital. For centuries, it served as a key link between the major civic and religious centers, the Mansion House and the Minster, and the bustling commercial and market centers around the Guildhall and St. Sampson Square. Look at the buildings. They are pressed closely together. Unlike Stonegate, where many buildings were homes and shops, Davygate historically had more inns, stables, and commercial service buildings. It was a working street, constantly filled with the noise of horses, carts, and commerce. In the Victorian era, Davygate became slightly more famous, especially for the York Herald newspaper offices, which were located right nearby. The presence of a major newspaper office underscores the street's importance as an information and connection hub. Notice how the shops today are much more modern. Because Davygate is a busy route, many of the older buildings have been replaced or heavily modernized, especially with larger storefronts to accommodate modern retail. We are now approaching the end of Davygate, and the street is about to open up dramatically. We are stepping out of the narrow channel and into St. Sampson Square. St. Sampson Square. And here we are. This square is an incredibly important piece of York's history. It is first and foremost a medieval market site. For centuries, this was the central location for buying and selling goods, particularly meat, poultry, and fish. It was the economic engine that fed the city. The square is dominated by the charming, stone-built church of St. Sampson. This church is ancient, originally built in the 11th century, though much of what we see is post-medieval rebuilding. Its presence here reflects the essential medieval belief that the marketplace must always be under the spiritual supervision of the church. It's a striking contrast, the holy structure standing right in the middle of the noisy, secular market. The square also contains the famous Michaelgate bar stone. This stone, moved here from the city gates, was where civic authorities would publicly display the heads of traitors after execution. It is a powerful, grim reminder that this open space was not just for commerce, but for displaying the full, unforgiving power of medieval justice. Today, the square retains its commercial purpose, but the goods have changed. It is primarily a social and hospitality center, filled with outdoor cafes, restaurants, and pubs, often featuring temporary markets and events. This square is the heart of popular, public life in York, a tradition that runs unbroken from the medieval fish market to today's outdoor dining. It embodies the enduring spirit of commerce and community in the city.